As I said earlier, Lexmark printers have a lot of magnets on their cables. At this point, you need to ask yourself if it's worth replacing the component or buying a new printer. We're going to remove the top assembly by disconnecting the cables from it in order for us to have better access to the printer. The scanning assembly has a paper pad which peels off. It does get worn out or dirty. And we want to remove this hinge which is holding the top cover to the rest of the printer. And then we want to disconnect the cables from the low voltage power supply on the right. We're taking the screws out of the low voltage power supply, but we're also rerouting the cables. So with the top part removed, we've got a couple of covers for the toner, and now we're removing the top cover, which is held by many screws. You need to remove the belt drive to remove the top cover. There's a couple of components mounted to the top cover, including a drive unit and a fan. And there's also a sensor. And now we can remove the fuser. This is not the most difficult fuser to remove. It's also not the easiest. Some fusers are mounted to the back of the printers. This one's mounted to the front. I want to show you there's a sensor here in the top cover that detects when paper is exiting the printer. That's an area that can malfunction. Once we've removed all the cables from the low voltage power supply and disconnect the cables from the fuser, there's a few additional screws. It's also attached by two springs, one on each side. And now the fuser can slide out. assuming you've routed all the cables correctly. And now we can remove the fuser motor and some additional brackets. I will note the way that this printer is designed. It's difficult to remove components just simply because of the way that the cables are routed. Here's another sensor that detects paper entering the fuser. And now we've removed the low voltage power supply, which powers most of the printer components. Down here is a drive unit. We've removed from the side. We've removed the motors. And now we're removing the drive unit itself. This drives paper through the toner and through the developer units. And what we have kind of looks like an engine. Now, this is the heart of the printer. This is what actually generates the laser. And down here, we've got the pickup roller for the tray. This is actually one of the most difficult parts of the printer to fix, because it's underneath everything. And here we can see a connector if you were to add a second or third paper tray. Now we're removing the high voltage power supply, which is at the bottom of the printer. This generates the high voltage for the laser and the developer unit in order to create the electrical charge necessary to get the toner to stick. The fuser itself can't really be fixed. Usually you just get a rebuilt fuser. Now we're opening up the laser beam unit. It's got a lot of shiny components. If we look in the bottom, you can see that there's a unit that rotates, and the laser reflects off of this unit and generates the pattern, the image. Now onto the top part of the printer. We've removed the button cover. You can see the USB connector that goes to a cable. That's actually another USB plug. We take out the scanning unit. Again with the magnets. in this printer. The scanning unit actually contains a well-protected camera-like sensor. The scanner itself is made of glass. I thought it was plastic or plexiglass, but it's actual glass, and it's not tempered. And there were so many magnets.